Welcome to Cynful Connection. I'm your host, Cynthia Ann Bednar Duggar. You know me as Bednar, some of you know me as Duggar. Some of you don't know me at all. And I am here to resume my podcast. I started my podcast with the intention of interviewing other people since my spiritual awakening in the last couple years. And honestly, just in general, throughout my life, I've met people that were instrumental in many pivots of my life and just overall trajectory of my life. So my thought was to interview these people and share these connections with you. I think I did 5 episodes, and the last 2 episodes was experiencing a lot of resistance using the application to edit the podcast, just feeling motivated to go through the process to get it published, just resistance in general. For me, I define resistance of anything that I had to push, pull, or chase as an individual. And I was pushing, pulling, and chasing this task for the past like 2 months. And they're really great interviews. And for whatever reason, they're just sitting there, just haven't been able to feel any inspiration to work through the resistance. So when I experience resistance in life, my next step is to go inward and figure out like why am I feeling this resistance? And in addition to having application issues, I was also feeling resistance in the way that I was like procrastinating on doing. So I've been going inward for several months, trying to figure out like actually I always knew the answers, but was it really ready to face the answers of the resistance? And the ultimate answer to that was this podcast is meant to be for me to share my story, to share my perspective, to share my truth. And once I've done that, I believe I will be able to release the resistance of shifting the energy onto an interviewee. So I've learned about myself when I have fear about being heard or seen, I very easily could shift all my energy into ensuring that someone else feels heard and seen. So that's why the Cynful Connection thing just conveniently happened for me. I was thinking I could just shift all my energy to all the beautiful people in my life. But I think that it's clear to me that this is supposed to be about me for the time being, please. Thank you for joining. And thank you for giving your energy and showing interest in me. A few things, I've had some recent experiences in my life that I've seen other people share their story, and I've watched other people lean into their fears of being seen and heard. And I've been just so inspired by these people who have entered into my life, into different chapters of my life. And the more and more that I'm seeing this and I'm exposed to it around with the people in my life, it's just reminding me that I'm attracting these people into my life, which means energetically I reflect their courage. Here. So, a little snort there. Excuse me. So the other day, Megan and I, my daughter and I, went to a half price bookstore. They just really missed the bookstores going and just hanging out at a bookstore and reading in a comfy chair. I miss reading, actually. But anyways, we went to the half price bookstore and I came across this book that was Your Story is Your Power. It's definitely aligned to a bit of a feminist energy. And there's a lot of content in here that really focuses on embodying the feminine energy. So whether you're female or male, we all have feminine and masculine energy. So this is really about embodying the feminine voice and truth and of our soul. And this book really was the kick in the butt that I needed. Honestly, I was like walking around the South Help area. This was at an end cap. There was only two on the shelf. And I meditate when I have Reiki sessions with myself. Really, any time that I channeling my angel spirit guide, they'll repetitively remind me that I'm meant to tell my story. So I've been coming up with 10,000 reasons why. Does it really to be my story? Does it really? I just inspire through all these other things. And yeah, and it's like the repetitive answer is no. And how I know that it's no is that when the universe is trying to give you a message and it's an area that you're uh, healing, again, feeling resistance, like, the universe will continue to give you experiences that force you to address, in this case, the wound is being afraid to be seen and heard. So I've had multiple experiences in the last 2 months that really forced me to speak my truth and be in my truth, boundaries, and really just be seen. So I'm hoping that I'm proving to the universe that, okay, yes, I am ready. I am going to tell my story. I am going to do this unapologetically, and it's not going to be hurtful. So, so when I saw this book, and it's like, okay, this book's going to tell me, I have a family voice. I'm like, okay, so the very first page that I open up to, it talks about the labyrinth. And I had a very divine experience at a labyrinth in Utah about 2 years ago that I'll tell you all about at some point. But in case you don't know what a labyrinth is, it's the point of a maze is to find its center, and the point of the labyrinth is to find your center. The labyrinth is basically a maze that is in a circular manner in which there's multiple ways to get to the center. And it's all about flowing through life and allowing yourself to explore that flow in order to find yourself. And so when I picked up this book, I actually picked it up to the very first introduction page, and it says, in a labyrinth, there are no roadblocks or tricky turns. The path flows continuously like water, spiraling and meandering as it goes. It is not a direct line from one point to another, but an organic, evolving process that takes time and moves to its own rhythm. Similarly, the path through this book is designed to help you spiral to the center of your story and then out again, giving you ways to digest what you discover and to create space for new insights to emerge. May the meandering, renewing, and turning path of your story continue to guide you. That is, as it has guided us. So that really resonated with me because I am learning and what my belief system is as it relates to healing is that healing is about remembering who you are at a soul level. And we come into this world with the soul contract. This is my belief system. And that soul contract has been defined and created and agreed to by myself, my own soul, before I make it here. I believe that the universe provides you experiences from the moment you're born, and those experiences are meant to expose you to the wounds that need to be acknowledged and felt and released in order to heal it. And so when I reflect on my life, I now reflect on my life as an observation of experiences. And so my goal in this journey that I'm documenting with you is to begin to reflect on my childhood from my upbringing until now and create space and a level of openness to redefine these stories and to also redefine my belief system around these stories because I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that every experience is there to show you a wound. I believe that we chose these experiences. We agreed to have these experiences when we came to this earth. And so this process is going to be my way of allowing myself, holding a safe container for myself to be vulnerable and reflect on the stories and experiences of my life so that I can redefine my beliefs. So far, just from going through this book, I've uncovered the impact of the generational and cultural, societal type things that I've been exposed to being brought up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. How has that impacted my life? And the way this book is written is it breaks up your cultural impact. It breaks it down into your personal story. So your cultural story, your personal story, and then your family story in no specific order. Again, what I believe is that there are belief systems created in your cultural story, belief systems created in your personal story, and belief systems created in your family stories that in order to heal, you must be open to dismantling. Question. And allowing yourself to depersonalize each and every experience so that you are able to find forgiveness, you're able to let go of confusion, sadness and grief and all of the emotions associated to these experiences. It allows you to create a clear picture of what those mean to you and why you had them. And really, how do you, not really even why you had them, but more about how do you feel about them? What is your truth around them? And once you come to your truth, then you're able to let go of them. So that's what I'm looking to do here. I expect this to be vulnerable and a journey in which I am not going to judge myself the perfection of this experience. Uh, Really just wanting to be raw and authentic and inspire you to do the same. Where do I get started? My name is Cynthia Ann, and I grew up in a little town named Mentor on the Lake in Lake County, Cleveland area, northeast of Cleveland, Ohio. And it's so interesting when you think about belief systems, but the fact just came to my mind that when someone hears or would speak about where I live, Mentor on the Lake, I don't even know why this started, but people would say that you live, oh, do you live on the mistake on the lake? So interesting that that was a belief system that I had growing up about where I lived. And it was actually a really beautiful, cute little town that had quite a bit of like growth and development throughout my upbringing. But I was actually born in Cleveland and for a short minute lived in Euclid, Ohio. I think back in that day, Euclid was the blue collar type environment. And for my parents to be able to afford and move their family to Mentor on the Lake, Ohio, was a really big accomplishment. So I know that my dad felt really proud that he was able to give us a life like him. And I won't even go into all of that yet, but we'll touch on it. So yeah, was in Euclid for a hot minute, and then sometime around the age of 2, we moved to a street called Firwood, Firwd. I believe my address was 6221 Firwood. And 6221 adds up to 11, which would make that a number 2 house. I'll put a placeholder in that thought because I'd like to know what a number 2 house represents in numerology. On Firwood, we lived in a split level house. We had a dog, a chocolate lab. His name was Brownie, youngest of 3. So I have 2 siblings, a brother who's 3.5 years older than me, and a sister who's 2 years older than me, or 2.5 years older to me. And my sister and brother are only 10 months apart. And then I'm 2 years below my sis. And have huge amount of memories in that home. I can definitely say that 3 or 4 memories stand out the most in that home. The house was split level, a lot of green. Remember that I believe the carpet was like a olivey green, and I believe there was some type of wallpaper that was like like a tin foily or metallic green floral or some type of green floral. There was a downstairs TV space, and then there was the living space or living room upstairs at the kitchen. that's about it, like, in that house. I shared a bedroom with my sister. We both had a twin bed. The only real memory that stands out to me, and actually, I'm not even sure that was the right house, but I believe the memory that stands out to me at that house is my mom coming in the room at night and kissing us goodnight. Sometimes she would read us a story, but for the most part, my sister had a really difficult time falling asleep. And my mom would sit there and rub her back, and my sister would like let her feet go up and down on the bed until she fell asleep. So that noise, that action, that ritual per se that my mom had with my sis ended up being how I fell asleep. So listening to her put my sister to sleep and listening to my sister move her feet and having the tops of her feet hit the bed, like she would lay on her belly. That's how I fell asleep, and I grew accustomed to that. So that memory stays with me. And then also, the other memory that sticks with me is we had one of those metal uh, jumbo gyms in the backyard, and it was one of the ones where on one side we had the monkey bars going across, and then kind of two T's on each side holding up the monkey bars. One side had a swing, one side had a bar that you could swing. And then on the opposite side of the swing, there were two handles for the monkey bar. And then I don't remember what was on the other side. But I would go into the backyard. We were in a fenced yard. And I don't remember playing with the dog in the backyard. I really honestly only remember the dog always like digging underneath the fence and getting out of the yard. And then I remember the dog, us getting rid of the dog actually. But I would go in the backyard and swing on the swings, and I would sing and sing, and I would sing nursery rhymes. Really remember, but just like a lot of singing. I think I remember having somewhat of an imaginary friend, or I don't remember feeling lonely or alone out there, but I did go out there and play on the swing set alone often. I would sit on top of the monkey bars and just hang out and swing for hours at a time. And that was really when I learned how to be a little bit of a gymnast this stage of the game. I don't really remember much of a relationship with my parents. My mom, just trying to think at that stage. I just remember being alone, but I don't remember feeling lonely or sad. Yeah. As I was going through this book, there's a section in the book that talks about personality traits or how it's considered an archetype. But let me see what they're referencing it. I guess it really does. But there's several of these to choose from. And got the reformer, the caretaker, the achiever, the individualist, the investigator, the troublemaker, the troubleshooter, the enthusiast, the challenger, and the peacemaker. And as I was going through these, I actually could identify with each and every one of them. And not literally, there were things that were more prominent with one versus the other. But the most interesting thing about it is to identify what personality trait I would identify with. There's the version that is made up of belief systems that I'm dismantling. And then there's the version of the personality traits that I identify with as I am learning who I am and remembering who I am at a soul level. So this was like quite interesting to read this at where I'm at in this particular time of my healing journey. On my next recording, I'm going to dive into these a bit more because what I found is once I was able to identify with one of these, it helped me drop into these stories of my upbringing, and it helped me question the belief systems that, quite honestly, I didn't even realize I needed to question. Thank you for joining me with my very first recording. I encourage you to take the perspectives to ask these same questions of yourself as these unfold for me. As I believe this is going to unfold into a beautiful journey of inner child healing, and really just exciting to uncover more and more and more about myself so that I can step into more and more joyful, abundant life. We hope to inspire you to do the same thing. See you in the next episode.